All right, it's about time here that we are getting started, winding down as we head into the 12th week. Hopefully everyone's feeling all right coming off of that third exam. I know it's a tough one. For most students, it is the hardest of the exams, and it's not at all unusual for scores to go from pretty good to pretty terrible on the exams from 2 into 3. It's a big shift, and it catches a lot of people off guard, not least of which because it's the longest unit. But we're heading into our last one now, starting here with Chapter 8 in Sections 8.2 and 8.3. And 8.1 is in there as extra credit if you want. I skipped that one because we don't have a ton of time here, and I'm not a huge fan of the assumptions in there. It's some funkiness with z-tests that I'm not too crazy about. I'm going to focus here on some things I feel are maybe a little bit more reasonable. Where we're starting in Section 8.2 with ways to talk about t-testing for differences between means that are independent, where we have some special assumptions that can be made about the standard deviations. Where for this, it's the same sort of testing procedure that we did in Chapter 7, but now we're making some adjustments for the fact that we're dealing with 2 data sets, and in particular, one really important thing to pay attention to is whether or not we consider these data sets as pooled. These are details and terms that you're going to get more comfortable with once you get some hands-on practice. Point is, we're looking at independent means using a t-test flavored procedure here. And then in 8.3, we are doing something similar, except instead we are talking about dependent means. And dependent's not really the best word for what we have there. I prefer paired or matched for the flavor of what the relationship is between the data sets, but, well, I'll get to that when I get in there. The main thing here is we're running another procedure, which in particular is very, very similar in a lot of ways to stuff that we did in Section 7.3 back in the last chapter. So just pay close attention to those details, and you should see a very clear connection between the relationships that we're trying to model, the relationships that we're trying to describe. Anyway, at this point, hopefully we know pretty well what to expect from a given week. Got some things over here, and you should probably know what you're going to see over here, but still, it's good to be sure that I'm not going to try and sneak anything in there. That for this week, we have a worksheet like normal. You know, as we get closer to the end, I know there are some weird days off hidden in the calendar that sometimes I miss, but we're probably going to keep that as it is on Friday. Then we've got MyLab deadlines for next week, looking at these 2 sections here, get those in by Tuesday like normal. And finally, pre-assessment to help the forward momentum keep going as we get through Chapter 8, it's a short one, and move into our last full chapter of the semester, which is Chapter 9, where we're going to be talking about correlation. But, you know, I have a bad habit of getting ahead of myself when I start talking about those pre-assessments, because we haven't done really much of anything in Chapter 8 yet. It should be on Chapter 9. Let's look at this stuff, and we'll get there later. See you in there.